Story 1. No lights after dusk. The farmhouse was isolated, tucked away in the folds of upstate New York, surrounded by thick forests and endless fields. I had rented it for the weekend, hoping to escape the noise, find some peace, and finally get some writing done. The caretaker, an older man with eyes that seemed to peer past you, greeted me when I arrived. His voice was rough, gravelly, as if he'd been speaking to the wind for too long. "Don't turn on the lights after dusk," he said, his voice low, almost too quiet. "It's better if you don't." His eyes darted to the darkening horizon, then back to me, scanning as though he were trying to gauge something, whether I understood, or whether I was too ignorant to notice. I shrugged it off. "I'll be fine," I said. "I'm just here to write." He nodded but didn't leave right away. Instead, he watched me for a moment before turning, his footsteps slow on the old wooden porch as he faded into the evening light. That first night, I settled into the room upstairs. The attic had a thick, musty smell, the kind you'd expect from a house left to sit too long. The window framed the landscape like a painting long stretches of cornfields, the trees in the distance swaying gently under the weight of an unseen breeze. The darkness seemed to settle in quickly, as though it had been waiting for something to happen. I didn't think much of the caretaker's warning. I was alone, and the farmhouse was quiet in a way that made the silence feel loud. It was almost peaceful, almost. But then, as I sat at the desk, a strange feeling crept over me. A disturbance in the air, the kind that makes you check over your shoulder once, twice just to make sure you're still alone. I stood and went to the window, drawn to the sight of something flickering in the distance. At first, I thought it was a car, its headlights cutting through the dark, but no car passed by. No engine hum, just the faint, rhythmic bobbing of light, weaving slowly through the cornfield, lanterns, but there were no figures holding them. No one walking, just the soft, almost imperceptible movements of the lights, drifting like they were following some unseen path, some secret route only they knew. My breath caught in my throat. There was something unnerving about it. The lights weren't still. They moved just beyond the reach of the field. I watched them for a while, my fingers cold against the glass, my mind racing to rationalize what I was seeing. It could have been anything, right? A trick of the wind, a reflection. But deep down, I knew it wasn't, and then I thought I saw it. Just for a moment, one of the lights stopped, hovered in place as if it were staring back at me. The air around me felt colder all of a sudden. My fingers tingled. I pulled away from the window and backed into the room. My heart was thudding in my chest now, each beat like a loud reminder that something wasn't right. The night outside had deepened, the shadows longer, the silence pressing in harder. I didn't want to look out the window again. I didn't want to see if the lights were still there. But I knew I had to. The urge was too strong. Slowly, I turned back, drawn by something I couldn't explain. And then, as if to prove that I was wrong to even think something could be out of place, the lights were gone. The field was empty, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I hadn't been imagining it. I hadn't. The room felt colder, though the night outside hadn't changed. I pulled the covers tight around me and tried to sleep, but my mind wouldn't stop racing. Every creak of the old house, every rustle of the wind against the window, made me wonder if I had made a mistake by coming here. And as I lay there, with my heart still pounding in my chest, I couldn't help but think of the caretaker's warning. Had I done something wrong? Was I supposed to follow those lights? Or had I seen something I wasn't supposed to see? A chill ran through me as I turned to look at the window once more, my eyes heavy, the silence pressing like a weight on my chest. Have you ever seen something you couldn't explain? Something that made you wonder if it was all in your head? Maybe it was nothing, but then again, maybe it wasn't. I still don't know, and I don't think I want to. But if you've ever felt that, if you've ever felt the way I did, alone in the dark, wondering if you're being watched, let me know. Am I just going crazy, or is there something out there that we're not supposed to see? Story 2. The field stayed lit. He left on a Thursday morning, keys in one hand, travel mug in the other. I barely unpacked my bag when I noticed the note on the fridge. It was scribbled in blue ink, crooked handwriting. Whatever you do, don't turn on the porch light at night. No explanation. Just that. I thought it was a joke. Some rural superstition, maybe. He was a professor of folklore, after all. The house sat alone, 2 miles from the nearest paved road. Flat land stretched in every direction, wheat fields mostly, broken by an occasional tree line. It was quiet in a way that buzzed inside your ears. By day I wandered, wrote in my journal, fed his cat. By night, I tried to pretend I didn't remember the note. The porch itself was old wood, bowed in the middle, with a rusty swing that creaked if the wind caught it. The light switch sat just inside the door, unmarked. I passed it every time I brought in the mail. I never touched it, not at first. But the house got dark after sundown. The kind of dark where your reflection disappears from the window. The kind of dark that makes you check if the door is really locked. I made it 5 days. That night, the sky was moonless. I was reading on the couch, but I couldn't focus. Something about the silence outside made the air feel thick, heavy. I walked to the front door and stared at the switch. I didn't even mean to touch it. My fingers just did it, a soft click. Then nothing. I expected the usual warm glow on the porch. But what I got was wrong. Too bright, too wide. The field beyond the driveway, an acre at least, was lit like daylight. All of it, I froze. The grass shimmered silver, almost metallic, and in that light I saw them, not people. Not quite. Shapes, glowing orbs, smooth and pale yellow, about the size of basketballs. Maybe 8 of them, evenly spaced and too perfect. Rows. They hovered just above the wheat, motionless at first. Then they started moving, slow, measured, synchronized like a school of fish. Toward the house, I didn't move. I couldn't. My breath got stuck somewhere between my ribs. The porch swing began to sway no wind. I shut the light off, click, but the field stayed lit, still bright, still glowing, still coming. I backed, away from the door and locked it again, even though it already was. My heart pounded so loud I thought I'd go deaf. I ran to the back window, same light, same orbs, mirrored rows advancing from the rear field, perfectly timed, perfectly silent. I grabbed the landline to call the professor. No dial tone. I tried my cell, no bars. Just static in the speaker, then something new, a soft hum. Not mechanical, almost like ... singing, but too low to be human. It wasn't outside, it was inside, vibrating through the floorboards from below. I crouched down, hand on the floor. Warm, the basement. There was no light down there. Just wooden stairs and a single dangling bulb that hadn't worked since I arrived. I didn't want to go, but I needed to know. Each step creaked like a scream. The hum got louder. Not angry, but urgent, rhythmic, pulsing. The deeper I went, the more the air shifted denser, warmer, like standing in a closed car in summer. At the bottom, nothing. Just boxes, tools, a workbench. But then ... a shape. A thin line of light shone from beneath a small crawl-space door behind the furnace. That door hadn't been there before. I crawled closer. The hum turned to whispers. I swear I heard my name. And then I saw it burned into the wood frame in the same crooked handwriting as the note on the fridge. Too late now. I didn't scream. I couldn't. The house pulsed. The walls flexed like it was breathing. I ran upstairs. The field was still lit, The orbs were closer now feet from the porch. Still no footsteps, just motion, just presence. They stopped at the edge of the wood. One of them tilted slightly, watching. The porch swing began to rock again, more violently this time. No wind, just force. And then the lights flickered. Every bulb in the house, all at once, twice, then off. Pitch black, except outside. The field never went dark. And that's when I heard the knock, soft, wooden, from the inside of the front door. I didn't answer. I didn't move. I just sat on the floor, arms wrapped around my knees, counting the seconds between knocks. 2, 4, 6, always even. Always. Calm like a lullaby, and I can't stop thinking. If anyone else has ever seen something like this, please tell me. I just need to know I'm not the only one who saw the field stay lit. Story 3. Lanterns with no bearers. I don't believe in ghosts. I still don't. But there are moments, very specific ones, when disbelief doesn't matter anymore. 3 weeks ago, I was sent to inspect a piece of property near Fossil, Oregon. I'm a land surveyor. 32, divorced, not exactly outdoorsy, but good at my job. The assignment was straightforward: assess the perimeter and map the condition of an old farm recently repossessed by the state. The place had been abandoned for nearly a decade. The first day was quiet, that kind of silence you only hear in places the world forgot. Wind moving through grass, dry wood groaning. The house sat at the top of a low hill with a collapsed barn and a fence that circled the land like a noose. When I arrived, the new caretaker, an older man named Eli, was already there, waiting. He didn't shake my hand, just nodded and said, "Stay inside after sundown." I thought he was joking. He wasn't. That evening, while I unpacked my gear in the guest room, Eli moved from window to window, locking the wooden shutters with worn brass latches. He didn't explain. Just said, "Don't draw attention. Light stays low. No phones near. Windows." His voice was flat, practiced, like someone repeating safety instructions before a flight. I should have asked more questions, but something about his tone made me quiet. The second night, I noticed the lanterns. They appeared around 10:30. 3 small lights out in the northern field, near the tree line. At first, I assumed they were hikers or kids messing around, but they didn't move like people. They swayed rhythmic, slow, always in sync. Each one bobbed slightly left, then right, in perfect unison. I watched them for almost 20 minutes. They never came closer, they just danced. No one was holding them. I told Eli the next morning. He stared at me for a long time before replying. "You look too long," he said. Then he walked out and didn't speak to me until sundown. That night, he triple-checked every shutter. The third night, I kept the lights off, sat by the shutter slats, and watched again. The lanterns were closer, still 3, still swaying. But now, I swear I could hear something. Not voices, something lower, a hum, a vibration in the floorboards. I couldn't tell if it was in the air or in my head. My pulse started sinking to the movement. Left, right, left. Something scratched the wall behind me. I spun around, nothing. But the air felt colder, still. I backed away from the window. I didn't sleep. I didn't even blink much. Day 4, I begged to leave. I had enough data. I told Eli I'd come back with the full report in a week. He didn't argue, just said, "Don't talk about them. Don't describe the light." I didn't listen. Back home, I couldn't stop thinking about them. I tried to write the report, but every time I typed a description, the lights came back behind my eyes. I'd see that sway again. I started hearing the hum in my apartment, quiet, constant. 2 nights ago, I woke up to find my phone light. It was on the windowsill, camera facing the street. Recording. I never set it there. Last night, the shutters in my bedroom, ones I've never touched, were unlatched. I didn't even know they could close, and tonight, I saw them again. Not through the window. In the reflection of the microwave door, just for a second, 3 points of light, moving in unison. Please, if anyone has ever seen them, those lights, please. Say something. I need to know if this ends. Or if I just brought them with me. If you've ever felt watched by something that shouldn't move the way it does, please tell me. I'm still not sure they were ever out there. Maybe they've always been in here. Story 4, they watch when you shine. I shouldn't have turned it on. That flashlight, I knew better. My uncle was clear after 9, no lights outside. Not even a phone screen, but I did it anyway. Just a quick scan. Just to make sure. Now, I don't know what I saw. And I don't know what saw me. The ranch felt too quiet that night. Not peaceful, hollow, like everything had paused. My uncle had gone to bed early, said he wasn't feeling right. His dogs, usually loud, restless, were tucked under the porch. Eyes open, but still. I stepped out for some air. Dry heat. Sand sticking to my socks. Moonlight barely lit the edges of the fencing. I had my flashlight in my hand, just in case. I paced to bed, kicked some gravel, smoked half a cigarette I didn't even want. I don't know what made me flick the light on. Habit, maybe. Instinct. The second I did, the beam cut across the field white and sharp and landed on the far edge of the irrigation ditch. Someone was standing there, or crouching. No, not crouching. Too still for that. I blinked. It didn't move. The light wobbled in my hand, and for a split second, I saw not a face. Just the suggestion of one. Wrong angles. Glossy skin. Eyes that didn't reflect, just absorbed. I stepped forward, squinting, and the thing vanished. Not like it ducked or ran. It just ceased, like a switch flipped. But something stayed. A faint glow. Warm orange, like a lantern. It swung from side to side, gently. No wind, no footsteps. I heard nothing, just the creak of the handle shifting. The light pulsed, not steadily, more like breathing. Inhale. Exhale. I couldn't see who held it. I didn't want to. I stepped back. My foot crunched on a twig. The lantern stopped moving. I stood frozen, light off now, heart hammering. My eyes tried to adjust. Behind me, the house felt miles away. I wanted to run, but running meant noise, and noise meant being found. The air around me shifted, not colder, but dense. Like something old had woken up and was deciding whether to care. Then I heard it, the gravel behind the barn, a single step. Then nothing. The dogs hadn't barked once, not even a growl. I remembered what my uncle said earlier that day, before going silent over dinner. They liked the light. It tells them where to look. I laughed, thought he meant coyotes. Or worse, meth heads, but now I knew. It wasn't a joke. I crept back toward the porch, one foot barely touching before the next moved. Something followed. I couldn't hear it. Couldn't see it, but I knew it was there. The lantern was still glowing behind me, even though I never saw anyone set it down. My hand brushed the screen door, and I paused. My reflection in the glass looked off, like my mouth was open, but I hadn't opened it. Inside the hallway, light flickered once, then steadied. I slipped in, locked the door behind me. Uncle's room was dark. Too dark, no sound. I whispered his name. Nothing. I didn't go check. I couldn't. I sat on the couch, lights off, heart still racing. Every so often, I looked through the blinds. The lantern was there. Closer now, just at the edge of the porch steps. Sometimes, I swear I see more than one now. 3, maybe 4. Dull orange glows. No movement, just watching, waiting for light. They don't like the dark. not because they fear it, but because they can't find you in it. Please, if you've ever seen them, if you've ever felt something watching when your light flickers, tell me I'm not alone. I need to know someone else has felt this, please. I haven't used a flashlight since that night, and I don't think I ever will again. Story 5. Shadows behind the lights. Not the kind you hear in nature birdsong fading into the wind. Cicadas ticking under a hot sun. This was heavier. Inside the converted tool shed where I stayed during my summer internship in Iowa, silence. Felt like something with weight. It settled behind the walls at night, pressed in through the slats. I didn't think much of it at first. The place was isolated, just fields, fences, and a scatter of abandoned barns I was tasked with cataloging. But the caretaker made it feel stranger. He was always there before dusk. Never said much. Just checked the locks, turned the generator off, and muttered the same thing every single night. Let the dark settle. That first week, I thought he was just old-fashioned. Maybe superstitious. The kind of man who believes the night needs space like it's alive. Without the generator, the tool shed fell into a dense kind of darkness. Not black, more like a dull gray pressure. The air inside would grow still. I'd sit by the little window with a flashlight, reading my notes until the batteries died. Sometimes I thought I heard something, branches moving against the walls, or the faint creak of a distant door. But it was probably the wind, probably. On the 6th night, the clouds rolled in early. No moon, no stars. Just a smear of haze above. The trees. I remember lying on the cot, listening. That's all I did. Listen. No bugs, no wind. Even the trees were still. Around 11, I sat up. My flashlight had flickered out, so I moved to the window just to get a sense of time. That's when I saw them. 6 lights, floating, low to the ground, maybe 3 feet up. Not headlights, not lanterns. Just soft golden orbs drifting near the tree line. They didn't move like fireflies, no pulse, no rhythm. They just hovered, gliding slow, like they were searching for something. But what froze me, what made my breath catch, was that they cast no shadows. The grass beneath them didn't change. The trees behind them stayed dark. I blinked hard, rubbed my eyes, looked again, still there. I should have looked away, should have closed the curtain and waited it out. But something about them, some part of me needed to understand. I opened the door just a crack. The night air spilled in. Damp, heavy. I stepped outside. No sound, not even my own footsteps. The lights began to shift, drifting closer, one by one. Still silent, still shadowless. I wanted to believe they were drones or flashlights. Something rational, but there was no noise. No hum, and they moved. Too smoothly, too purposefully. One broke off from the group. Glided toward me. I didn't move. Couldn't. It stopped just beyond the gate. Hovered. I felt it then, not heat, not cold, but a pressure against my skin. Like the air between us had thickened. My ears rang, low and constant. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. The light flickered. Once. Then again. A kind of stutter, like it was breathing. Behind me, the caretaker's voice calm, almost. Whispering. You looked. I turned. He was standing by the shed, holding the power cord to the generator. They only come when the dark's pure, he said. And when someone sees them, he didn't finish. Just plug the generator. Back in, the lights vanished. Not faded, vanished. No sound, no trace. The pressure lifted. Inside, everything buzzed. The light overhead flickered back to life. My ears stopped ringing. I sat on the floor, trying to breathe. He didn't say anything else, just left. Next day, he was gone. No note, no truck. Just gone. And now, every time the power goes out anywhere, I wait. I wait to hear nothing. I wait to see those Lights outside, hovering near whatever line I've drawn between safe and not safe. I don't know what they were. I don't want to. But if anyone else has ever seen lights like that float without shadow, that breathe without sound, please tell me I'm not the only one. Story 6, The Quiet Between Flickers. I didn't think much of the caretaker's warning at first. He handed me the keys with a stiff nod, then paused as I reached for the porch light. After sundown, he said, leave the outside lights off, all of them. No smile, just that. I gave a half laugh, waiting for a punchline. There wasn't one. It's part of the agreement, he added. If you need light, keep it inside. The cabin sat at the edge of a pine grove, far from the nearest town. Just hills, trees, and a narrow path that dipped into the woods behind the house. No neighbors, no roads in sight. That was the point. I'd come here to get away. No phone, signal, no email. Just me, a stack of books, and time to think. The sun went down quickly that first night. A copper glow dipped behind the trees, and then it was dark, real dark. I stood by the living room window, watching the reflection of my own face in the glass. Beyond it, only blackness. The kind that presses against the walls. I had a lamp on behind me. Soft yellow light, gentle enough to keep me calm. Still, something didn't sit right. It started as a sensation, like static in the air. That feeling you get when you think someone's watching, even though no one should be there. I rubbed my arms and stepped back from the glass. Told myself it was just adjustment. City brain. Trying to recalibrate, but I didn't stop watching. My eyes stayed locked on the dark. Then I saw it. A flicker faint and low far out in the field behind the cabin. Just a small point of orange swaying like a candle in the wind. It moved. Slowly. Left to right. Then stopped. I squinted. It was too far to be a flashlight, and too dim. It looked old. Like a lantern. Another appeared. Same size, same sway. A little farther left, then a third. I stepped back. They didn't move in sync, but they moved with purpose. Like they were listening, testing the silence. Each one flickering, pausing, tilting slightly, then adjusting, like heads turning. I turned off the lamp. The room dimmed. My breath caught in my throat. I crouched low by the window, heart thudding. The flickers weren't random. They were getting closer, not fast, just deliberate, like they were pacing it. Like they didn't want to spook me yet. I thought of the caretaker. His voice sounded rehearsed, like he'd said it many times before. Keep the lights off. What had he seen? What had he learned? I couldn't look away. The lanterns were maybe 30 yards away now. No bodies, no figures. Just flames floating just above the grass. I should have moved, closed the curtains, walked away, but I couldn't. I was pinned there by a tension I couldn't name. Then one blinked out. The far left one just vanished. No fade, no puff of smoke. Gone, and the rightmost. Only one remained. It was closer than before. I could hear something. Not a voice, not footsteps, just the shift of grass. A soft rustle, slow and rhythmic. My ears strained for anything else. A breath, a whisper. But the quiet was absolute, and that was the worst part. Not the light, not even the movement. The silence between flickers. It was like the world was holding its breath. That last lantern paused, tilted slightly toward the cabin. Toward me. I'm not sure what made me do it. Panic, defiance, desperation. I reached for the nearest switch, the porch light. My fingers hesitated, then flicked it on. Light flooded the steps outside, but the field stayed dark. No lanterns. Just empty grass and low mist curling near the tree line. But I swear, for a second, the porch light flickered. Once, then stayed on. I didn't sleep that night. I sat with my back against the door, every light inside the cabin blazing. I didn't blink for hours. Morning didn't feel like safety, it felt like a countdown. Because tonight, the lights have to stay off again. I don't know what's out there, but it knows me now, and it's waiting for dark. Please, if anyone's been to this part of Vermont, if you've ever seen lights like that, or felt that kind of quiet, please tell me. Please say I'm not the only one. Story 7. Warning from the porch. I hadn't seen Alan in nearly 6 years. When he called out of the blue, asking if I could help him move into an old house outside Asheville, he sounded tired, almost embarrassed to ask. I said yes, more out of nostalgia than generosity. The place was quiet, set back from a long gravel road that crackled under the weight of our rented truck. We arrived late afternoon, and the sun sloped behind the ridge fast. His new place 2 stories, pale gray wood, chipped but sturdy, felt forgotten by time. The woman who greeted us called herself Myra. She looked mid-50s, wore a cardigan despite the July heat, and kept glancing toward the tree line. I take care of the house for the owner, she explained. It's good you came today, but don't light the yard. She said it like a joke, but didn't smile. Alan just laughed and said something about locals being superstitious. I shrugged it off. We unloaded boxes until night swallowed the trees. Inside, the house smelled like pine and dust. Alan took the upstairs bedroom. I stayed in the smaller guest room, downstairs wood floors, one window facing the porch. I fell asleep fast. Too fast. Something woke me. The digital clock read 2:13. I stayed still, unsure why I was even awake. Then I heard a soft, rhythmic tapping, like fingers drumming wood. It came from outside. I sat up. The room was heavy with stillness, the kind that presses against your ears. The tapping continued, deliberate. 4 beats, pause, 4 beats, pause. My heart started to sync with it. I moved to the window, careful not to disturb the old floorboards. The porch was dim, but something moved. Their lanterns. 3 of them. Hanging from the beam above the steps, swaying gently, but there was no wind. No ropes, just faint light bobbing in the dark like breath. Below, on the steps, I saw nothing, but the tapping persisted. I tried to convince myself it was an animal. A branch. Anything. I closed the curtain halfway. Myra's words replayed in my head. Don't light the yard. What did that mean? Was it superstition or something else? My fingers hovered over the light switch. But something in me, the part that still listened to old fears, said no. I backed away from the window and sat on the edge of the bed, breathing through my nose. To keep quiet. Then the tapping stopped. Silence stretched for what felt like hours. I didn't sleep again, just waited. Listened. The next morning, I walked out to the porch. No lanterns. No marks. But the wood on the top step, just one board looked darker, warped slightly, as if wet from breath or something heavier. I mentioned it to Alan. He laughed again, but it didn't reach his eyes. Before I left that afternoon, I asked Myra why she said what she did. She looked past me toward the trees. It's not the dark you need to worry about, she whispered. It's what sees you when you shine the light. I haven't gone back. Alan texts now and then. He says the nights are quiet. But sometimes, he asks, did you ever hear the tapping again? If anyone near Asheville has seen lights or heard sounds like this, please let me know. I just want to know I wasn't the only one. Story 8. Dimming on purpose. They told me the baby usually slept through the night. I didn't expect it to be so quiet. It was one of those old Pennsylvania homes, 3 miles off the highway, past 2 rusted silos and a cornfield that seemed endless even in daylight. I arrived just before sunset. The parents were running late for some overnight conference. Didn't say much, just handed me a list and pointed toward the fridge. They'd left me the number of the caretaker in case anything out of the ordinary happened. Their words, not mine. The house creaked more than I liked. Wooden beams above, loose tiles below. No Wi-Fi, no cell service. Just a landline bolted to the kitchen wall with a cord that barely reached the counter. I put the baby down around 8:15, then made myself some tea. The fridge hummed inconsistently faint at first, then louder, like it was building up to something. That's when the lights flickered, just a soft stutter, then off, total darkness. The kind that feels like it's leaning in. I froze, cup in hand. No wind outside, no storm, just power gone. I tried the switches, nothing. Checked the circuit box, everything in order. That's when I remembered the parents had mentioned. A lantern in the garage. I grabbed it. It was heavier than I expected. Battery powered, still functional. I turned the knob. A soft glow lit up around me, pale yellow. Maybe too warm for how cold I suddenly felt. I walked back inside. That's when I saw them. Figures. By the fence. At first, I thought it was my eyes adjusting, but no. Shapes. Dozens of them. Perfectly still. All facing the house. Not moving. Not waving. Just there. Outline only like they'd been sketched in with fog. I blinked hard. The light in the lantern trembled. My hand did too. I turned it slightly toward the window, trying to see better. That's when my phone rang. I didn't even realize it had signal. Unknown number, I answered. A voice I didn't know, calm, slow, almost emotionless. You let them see. Then silence. Call ended. I lowered the lantern. My breath caught in my throat. My chest felt tight, like the air around me had thickened. The baby hadn't made a sound. That somehow terrified me more than if he had. I moved away from the window, sat in the hallway, turned the lantern down low. Almost off, the light dimmed until I could barely see my own knees. I waited, not sure what for, but the silence didn't feel empty anymore. It felt crowded, like something like many things were pressing in from every side. I couldn't bring myself to look out again. Eventually, I crawled to the bedroom and locked the door. The baby was still asleep. That didn't feel right. The dim light flickered as I sat beside the crib, knees hugged tight to my chest. I kept the lantern on the lowest setting. Something tapped the window. Not a knock, a scrape, long, deliberate. Then another. From the other side of the room, windows on both walls. There was a rhythm to it, not random, not wind. Then came the hum, low, resonant, like it came from under the floorboards or above the ceiling, or both. The baby stirred. Just once, then still again. The hum grew louder when I looked toward the lantern. When I turned it up even a notch, they moved, only slightly, but enough to be sure. Closer, I turned it back down, sat there, staring at nothing, hearing everything, the hum, the scrapes, the silence between. My phone buzzed again, same number. I didn't answer, but a message appeared. Let it go dark, completely, or they'll want more. That's when the lantern died. Click. Darkness. No breathing but mine. No sounds, but no, there were sounds. Tiny ones. Like fabric shifting, feet dragging across grass, and a whisper. Right by my ear. I remember your face, please. If anyone's heard of this, if anyone's seen them or knows what happens when you turn the light back on, tell me. Before I do something stupid, before I give them a reason to stay. Purgator at ChatGPT Story 9. Wandering lights on flat. Ground, we weren't supposed to leave the tent light on. That was the only thing the caretaker asked. After midnight, he said, tapping the still frame of the visitor board, keep everything dark, no fires, no headlamps, no phones. He didn't smile. I nodded. I think my partner did too. But as soon as the guy drove off, we laughed it off. Probably just doesn't want light pollution, I said, pulling out my flashlight to check the tent zippers. We were in the middle of the Nevada desert, just off a dirt trail nobody had used in weeks. No power lines, no fences. Flat land, stretching in every direction. It felt like we were the only two people in the world. Around 11:30 p.m., we climbed onto the hood of the car and watched the stars. The air was cool but not cold. Still, no wind. No insects. Not even a distant engine hum. Just ... quiet at some point. I noticed a faint light on the horizon, low. Too low for a plane, but too far out for a car unless it was hovering. I didn't say anything at first. I thought maybe I imagined it. Then there were two more. 3 in total. They appeared in a perfect line like someone was walking across the desert holding lanterns. But there were no roads, no trails, just flat ground and dust. I nudged my partner. Do you see that? They froze. Yeah. What is that? The lights moved not smoothly, but with a subtle sway. Like they were being carried by someone with uneven steps. The rhythm was off though. It didn't feel like walking. It felt ... practiced, coordinated, a pattern. We slid off the car and stood behind the door. The lights kept swaying forward, closer. Then they stopped dead still. One flared brighter for a second, not a flicker. A pulse. That's when I remembered the caretaker's words. No light after midnight. I looked at my watch. 12:14, I glanced. Back at our tent. The lantern inside was glowing through the fabric. I ran, unzipped it, switched it off. Everything went black. We waited. Long seconds, maybe minutes. Nothing moved. Then one by one the lights blinked out. Not dimmed. Not. Faded. Just gone. We crawled into the tent and didn't speak. Not for hours. I listened for footsteps, for crunching gravel, for anything, but all I heard was the blood in my ears. Just before sunrise, I cracked the zipper to check. The desert looked the same, barren, harmless, but out in the distance, right? Where the lights had hovered, there were prints. 3 parallel trails, evenly spaced, carved into the hard ground. Not footprints, not tire tracks, just ... indentations, deep and long. As if something heavy had dragged itself, or been dragged. We packed up in silence. Didn't even eat. The caretaker was gone when we passed the station. No truck. No footprints. No sign of him ever being there. We haven't talked about it since, but sometimes at night I think I see a soft glow under the bedroom door. It's probably just headlights or a phone screen or something else I forgot to turn off. Still, if anyone else has seen lights like that on flat ground where nothing should walk, please tell me. Please. I need to know I'm not the only one. Story 10. Don't illuminate the field. The first message from the host came just as I was unpacking my things. Welcome. Feel free to use the kitchen. The Wi-Fi password is taped to the fridge. Standard friendly. The second message came at sunset. Stay inside after dark. Curtains closed. Do not turn on any outside lights. Seriously. I remember pausing, reading it twice. I even laughed a little. I thought, okay, rural humor. The place was a converted farmhouse about 20 minutes outside Johnson City, Tennessee. Acres of empty land in every direction. Cornfields, a small barn, and silence. The barn sat maybe 50 yards from the back porch. Faded red, sagging slightly. To one side, but still standing. There were no animals. No signs of life, just tools and old wood. The kitchen window faced it directly. I kept the lights low, just in case. I even pulled the living room curtain shut, but I didn't feel afraid. Not then. Around 11 p.m., something changed. I was lying on the couch, scrolling. That's when I felt it. The hum, it wasn't loud, more like vibration than sound. A low, pulsing pressure behind my ears. I sat up, thinking maybe it was a truck passing on the road. But there was no road nearby. I walked to the kitchen. The vibration got stronger. Not painful dash, just dot unsettling. I stood near the window, hand hesitating over the curtain. Just a peek, I told myself. Just to prove there's nothing. I opened the blinds a crack. Outside, the barn looked dot wrong. Too still. Too clean in the moonlight. Encircling it 5 soft lights, lanterns. They floated just above the ground, moving, slowly, always in motion. They circled clockwise, never touching, never veering. Perfect spacing between them, like they were tethered to something. Invisible. No one held them, no strings. No wind, they just moved. My breath caught. I leaned closer. The hum pulsed in sync with their motion. Every time they rounded the barn's far edge, the pressure in my head spiked, then faded again as they disappeared behind it. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, opened the curtain a little wider, still there. My phone buzzed. I jumped. New message from the host. Don't illuminate the field. Don't interact. Just wait. It'll pass. My hands trembled. I typed, "What is that?" No reply. The air felt dot thinner. My skin tingled. Something shifted in the light. A shadow, no, a shape. Between 2 lanterns, for a split second, I saw a silhouette, thin, too tall, bent slightly forward. And then it was gone. I slammed the blinds shut, stepped back, sat on the floor, hugging my knees. I don't know how long I stayed like that. The hum eventually stopped. Everything was still, silent. I slept a little. Or maybe just lost time. By morning, the barn looked normal again. Dry grass, empty yard, no sign of the lights. I packed my things. Didn't shower, didn't eat. As I loaded the car, I glanced back once. There, on the porch railing, 5 faint scorch marks. Evenly spaced. I didn't report it. Didn't ask for a refund. But I can't stop thinking about it, how they moved. The pressure in my skull, that shape between the lights, and something the host wrote, "Just wait, it'll pass." That means they knew I'd see it, that someone always sees it. If you've ever experienced something like this, if you've seen lights move without sound, or felt a vibration behind your eyes that no one else noticed, tell me, please. Tell me I'm not the only one.